Spotlight me. Spotlight. Chelsey. There we go. All right. Well, guys, good afternoon. We got the last day of July, and I cannot believe it's almost August, but here we go. Summer is flying by. We've got special guests today, Miss Chelsey Wolf. Chelsey,
Guys,
what's up?
not much. This is sort of crazy being on this side of things.
I'm excited to have you on. So let's hear it. So dive in. I know a little bit of your story just from talking to your husband.
Right. Yeah.
For everybody else that does not know how in the world you found Family First Life and how you got here, and I guess just give us that intro and then we'll kind of move from there.
Yeah, sure. So sort of crazy. I was a nurse, worked in the ER, and then everyone who knows Greg knows he was a finance director at Gates. So just working tons of hours. I wasn't able to work as much. I was sort of working around his schedule. And then we have 3 girls, so I was at home with the girls. And one day his sister was over and I was just complaining about his hours, how he works so much. And she's like, oh, well, I have the best opportunity for him. This girl I went to school with, her name's Mindy. She works for Family First Life. She sells insurance. Like, he'd do great at that. And she was just telling me about it. So I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, he could do so good at that. So he got home and I'm like, babe, guess what? Like, you don't have to be a finance director. I have the best job for you. You can work from home. It's going to be great. So I told him all about it. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. You should do that. And I was like, I should do that. Like, no, like, I don't know how to sell. My job is to take care of the kids. I'm a nurse. And he was like, no, for real. Like, you should do that. If it works, we'll see how it goes, then maybe I'll consider it. So that was sort of how I got into it. We scheduled a call with Mindy. We talked to her and I was still like trying to get her to like tell Greg he should do it. And then, we got off the call and he's like, yeah, babe, try it. If it works, maybe I'll do it. So I came into this
with the pressure on you.
Yeah. And my intentions was just to show him that it worked so that I could stop doing it and he could do it.
All right. So first off, Greg, it's a bold move, bro. That's a savage move. Chelsey, had you sold anything else besides life insurance prior to this, or was this your first sales pitch?
No, never.
So when you're talking with Mindy, and I think we all know like the legend of Mindy. Mindy doesn't exactly make it easy when
I got off the phone. I'm like, yeah, babe, I'm good. Like, I'm going to stick with nursing.
So what made you pull the trigger? Like, what made you take that? I mean, it's a pretty big leap. You're in you have a good job as a nurse. Right. You're also a mom of how many?
3.
So your life, you're not busy at all.
Right. So for me, I wanted to prove to him that I could do it, because obviously everyone knows that, especially my family, that Greg's the salesperson. He's so good. He can talk to anyone. I'm not that way. So I was like, if I can even sell like a policy or 2, like, he's going to know that he can kill it at this. So I was like, I'll do it for a couple weeks. If I sell a couple, then he'll want to do it. And then I can go back to nursing. So that was definitely my intentions.
So how long ago was this? When did you officially get your license and dive in?
So that's a good question. So I got my license last year in March. And then I was like, I'm not going to work during the summer. I like summer. And I just was nervous to start. So I didn't actually start until the kids went to school in like August, September.
Okay. So you're basically coming up on a year of actually being working with us. So
sort of
ish.
When I started in September, I was working in the basement for like 4 hours a day. Okay. And I spent like $200 on leads. So I didn't actually start until, I would say, like January, February. Conventions really what like changed it a lot.
Did Mindy tell you to go spend 4 hours and $200 in the basement?
Oh no, she said that would not work. Absolutely.
She said that would not work. So What was it about convention and what changed things? Because obviously now you're doing, I mean, you're still part-time because you've
Mhm.
got a lot going on, but
Yeah,
you're helping 20-25 families a month.
right.
So that's a big jump. What
Yeah.
changed?
So when I first started, I was still doing my nursing job. So I was doing this like 1 day a week and then nursing one. And I just wanted to like slowly learn how to do it. And then I was like, I'll dive in eventually. So me and Greg went to convention. I was like, hey, I really want you to come. So he's like, yeah, let's go. And really just, I mean, we loved all of it, honestly. There was so many amazing speakers, seeing all the people that are so successful doing this and all their stories. There's so many people who have never had sales experience that were on stage killing it. So I was like, okay, if they can do that, I can do this. And that's really what changed it. We had a dinner with Mike and Matt. We talked to them a lot. Um, so yeah, so then after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to show Greg that I can do this. And I quit my nursing job. And then that's when I like completely really dove into it.
All right. So you quit your nursing job, which is bold.
Yeah,
That's a big move,
it was.
especially because you really hadn't at that point, or I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you hadn't had like a breakout month just yet, right?
No, I was selling like 1 or 2 policies a week.
So like, I love this story because you go to convention, have, it sounds like a couple of meals with
Yeah.
different folks, and all of a sudden now like you're borrowing confidence and starting to believe that if they could do it, why not you?
Yeah, that
What
was exactly.
what did you change as far as actual like nuts and bolts? So like like your schedule, clearly you
Yeah.
didn't keep spending $200 a week in leads. You probably spent a little bit more than that. Like what
Yeah.
did you do right off the bat when you came back and started to really dive in?
So I started getting on live dials. Before that, I never really got on live dials. And if so, like camera turned off, I was just listening to people. I wasn't like actually engaging. So I started getting on live dials and I started legit mimicking Mindy. So obviously she was my upline, but I also just loved her because I loved her schedule and I loved her numbers. So I was like, this is who I want to learn from because I want to work her schedule and do her numbers. So I started listening. I was getting on live dials, listening to every single one of her appointments, every single one of her dials. I was really just communicating with her so much. And she told me like, yeah, you have to spend money on leads. Like you have to. So I did. I started spending money on leads and literally just trying to do exactly what she was doing because she was showing that that worked.
I I love that because I had a interview this morning with Dave Witchard, and Dave asked me a similar question to what I just asked you. He was like, when you started off at your first sales job, were you instantly good? Like, were you a natural? And I was like, dude, I don't know that I believe anybody's a natural. Like, I think that everybody struggles, and the only way to get good is to get honest and put yourself around people that are better than you and follow them and let them critique you. Like
Right.
that's it.
Yeah.
But most people I found are too prideful to like actually be that honest with themselves and other people. And they're just, I don't know, maybe it's fear of people judging them. It's like, no, we want everybody to win. I love
Right.
that people are commenting about channeling inner Mindy. Mindy, you inspire us, apparently. And honestly, when Chelsey said she wanted your schedule and your income, dude, if I could have your schedule and your income, I would take it. That's
Yeah.
Mindy's the killer.
I mean, that's really what it was for me. So I seen that she was doing it. Obviously, she's a mom. She was doing it. So I was like, okay, so what do I have to do to work that schedule and be successful like her? So I started buying leads and then I started becoming super intentional with my schedule. And for me, I realized that working at home wasn't going to work for me. Because I have my kids all the time. So when I dropped them off at daycare and came to work from home, I would get distracted. Like I'd start doing laundry or I'd start cleaning on the way like to my office downstairs. So for me, separating myself from that, we got an office. I started working at the office. And then I just started being super intentional with my schedule and what I was doing in those days that I was working so that I could make the absolute most of it. And working next to Mindy, I changed my schedule even to her days. So she works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I was like, all right, Mindy, I'm going to start working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday so that we can work next to each other. I want to do what you're doing. And that's really what changed for me.
That's not just mirroring and learning from someone. That's actually, it's kind of like a gym partner, right? Like you have that built-in accountability, which is
exactly
amazing. All right. So talk to us about, because you're not the only mom on here that is killing it. And there's probably a lot of newer moms that want to be doing what you're doing. So obviously you were looking up to Mindy, trying to, copy and paste a lot of what Mindy was doing.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are on the call looking at you saying, hey, I'm a mom of 2 or 3 or 1, whatever the case is, 5, who knows, 10, 10 on the call. But they would love to be part-time, working 3 days a week, producing $25,000 a month in income for their families. So other than just finding and copy and pasting, if you could say, hey, some of the biggest differences. So you obviously already talked about getting away from your home office, getting to an office.
Yeah.
What other things would you say are critical for them to do, like right now? Like they're not going to succeed unless.
Yeah. So prime dial time. So Mindy stressed that to me when I started, like, hey, prime dial time is huge. I still wasn't doing that when I first started. I'd take a little nap, sleep in the morning. Once I dropped off the kids, then I'd start dialing. As soon as I started working at the office, I got there at like 7:30, got coffee. By 7:45, 8 o'clock at the absolute latest, I was on the phones. Like I actually started being one of like the first people on live dials, which was crazy. That's like not me. But yeah, I started dialing the phone at 8 o'clock. And as soon as I started dialing at 8 o'clock, those prime times are huge. So for me, the prime times is like 8 to 9:30, even 8 to 10. And then again, from like 3 to 5 are huge. So I'm so intentional now just about dialing during those prime times, because before I would start dialing around like 10:30, and then I'd stop at like 3:30 when the kids got off school. It's crazy how fast those hours go. And then you're like, wow, I have 2 appointments. Cool. So now like I start dialing at 7:45 until that prime time's over. And it's crazy how many more people I can get a hold of and book those appointments. And then even when it's not prime time, like around the like noon time or later, now I'm like looking at my leads and I'm finding like the older people, like, hey, these people look like they're retired age. Let's dial those people right now, because they're probably home. Even you can try one call closing those people or whatnot. But having those prime dial times is huge. Like people in the office know, don't talk to Chelsey from 8 o'clock until 9:30 because she's just dialing.
I love it. That's amazing. What about your lead flow? Were you back when you were barely making it happen, barely putting the time in? What was your lead flow then versus what it is now?
Yeah. So when I first started, the first week I spent like 250, 300 bucks on leads. And then I like got it up to like, okay, I'm spending like 400. What
kind of leads were you buying?
So like the first like day I started, I was buying the final expense, on the ILC. I was still doing like the in-homes. And I was working around Greg's schedule. So like I could do like a few in-homes a day. It was sort of crazy. Telesales started like real quickly after that. And that's when I was doing the second chance mortgage leads.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I was spending like $400 or $500, and then yeah, me and Mindy talked after convention. She's like, girl, you can't, you need to buy leads. And for me with my time, it was important for me to buy the fresher leads and spend more because of my time. I love second chance leads. I think they're awesome. But just with the time I had, I was like, okay, I need to get to fresh so that it's just for time, you know, I wasn't having to spend
That's
as much time.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally, we've said for the 2.5 years that I've been here, and I've never heard it said otherwise, you have to decide as it relates to leads, what's more important to you, time or money? Because
Yeah.
that's really what you're buying back. You're buying back time when you buy a fresher lead. People are like,
Right.
oh, so I can just automatically write more business? Not necessarily. You're gonna probably write about the same. The difference
Right.
is you were taking 16 hours on the phones to book this many appointments last week with those leads. Now with the fresh leads, you can book the same number of appointments, probably cost you the same too, but you can do it
Right.
in 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
You're so much more efficient. And I think that's really what it is. Man, that's gold. So Greg put a lot on your shoulders to go
Mhm.
and prove this thing and figure it out.
Yeah.
You did. Now we have Imagine Financial
Right.
by FFL. I was actually talking to Sean Mike about you guys just an hour ago.
Yeah.
He was like, where you guys have heat coming right now? I was like, have you heard of Imagine Financial? So that's pretty cool. You're kind of like the match that kind of lit that flame, which is pretty cool to think about. What are
Sure.
some of the goals moving forward?
So for me personally, obviously the guys have a little bit different goals than me. For me personally, so yeah, so right after convention, that's when Greg, he was like, okay, yeah, cool, I can do this thing too. So he quit his job. He was our only income at that time. So that was a little like, it was so exciting, but I was like, okay, shoot, so you need me to like work now. And he was like, yeah. So that was actually when I was like, okay, so now I really need to focus on my time because my income actually matters. It's the only income that's going to pay the bills right now. So that's when I was like so intentional about my schedule, my time. That's when me and Mindy talked. I'm like, girl, I need leads. We got all the fresh, I started doing fresh leads, committed to that.
Okay.
And so my goal, right now is I'm working 3 days a week. So I have an appointment goal. That's
Okay.
mine. I don't really have like a money or sales goal. It's an appointment goal. And then I'm also helping with training some new agents. So that was also what really got me going. I had heard a training call and someone said, you shouldn't mimic or really take advice from someone if you're not happy with what they're doing. And I was like, well, dang, if I'm going to be training people, I can't be selling 1 or 2 policies a week. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to be intentional about getting my numbers and goals up there so that I can help get our new agents going. So my appointments, so typically I dial on Wednesday, I book appointments for Thursday and for Friday. So on Thursday, my goal is to fill the whole entire day. So like my bare minimum amount of appointments is like 8, and I'm shooting for 10 to 12. Most of the time, 10 to 12 is where I end up. And then same thing for Friday. If I work a full day Friday, then I'm doing 10 to 12 appointments on Friday too. So that's my goal as far as appointments go. And then I'm trying to help train some new agents and get people rolling too.
I love it. Someone just Ashley asked, how long do your appointments usually go for?
So usually I book my appointments 30 to 45 minutes apart. If it's a couple, typically they go about 45 minutes. If it's a single person, usually it's about 30 minutes. When I first started, of course, it was like an hour and 15, or longer. But yeah, now, being familiar, usually I book appointments 30, 45 minutes apart. And I'm trying to fill like the whole entire day. I want it to be like back-to-back appointments. And then if somebody no-shows or the appointment ends quick, now I'm dialing and I'm booking up my next day. So just being super intentional about every single hour that I'm working because there's not very many of them.
Yeah. Someone asked if you're working virtual or in person. You're working all virtual, correct, at this point?
Yeah. So now it's all virtual. So yeah, my schedule, literally, I go to the office. I try to be there at like 7:30 so that I can get everything ready. Cause I want to be like dialing the first person at like 7:50, 8 o'clock. So I dial really heavy in the morning till like 9:30. Usually I can get like 6 or 7 appointments in that time. And then I'm sort of helping some other agents around lunchtime, answering questions, checking on my deals, seeing if there's anything, just doing other work. And then I'll also call like those older leads. So those retired people, things like that. I do organize my leads in that way. So that I'm calling older people. And then I dial really heavy starting around 3 o'clock for that prime time. And I'm just booking up my whole day on Thursday. And then I don't on Thursday, my first appointment does not start until after 10 because I'm spending that prime time to fill up my day on Friday.
Makes a ton of sense. That's killer. It's a good schedule. Josh just asked a good question. He said, how do you deal with, those clients that yell at you, maybe cuss you out? How do you keep from being discouraged after kind of a negative conversation during your day?
Yeah. So having the right lead flow, which Mindy says all the time, that's where I learned it from. If you only have 10 leads and someone cusses you out, you're like, dang, yeah, I just paid for that lead. I only have 9 more people to call. If you have enough leads coming in, like literally next, like that person didn't need help. What Christy said on one of her training calls was huge for me. She said every day she prays to God before she goes to work, like, hey, help me just to find those people who need help today. Not everyone is going to need it, but there are enough people out there that need help. Help me just to find those people. So I do the same thing. I just ask God, like, whoever needs my help today, help me to be able to help them. So if someone cusses me out, then I'm like, okay, they didn't need my help today. Now we're on to that next person.
Next. I like that. You want to be in that next mentality, really in anything that you're building in your business, guys, whether it's leads and lead flow, whether it's recruiting. Obviously, these are people that we care about, but if they don't want what we have, if we have a scarcity mindset where it's like, oh no, what are we going to do?
Right.
You put yourself behind the 8 ball. Now you're in your head, you're losing confidence, you're losing momentum. And now the next 9 calls, you're not being the best of what you can be.
Right.
It's actually going to affect the result of the next 9 because of the one, jerk that tried to throw off your day. Who else has a question?
And that was really huge for me. One, getting my lead flow right. Obviously, then we're not upset about the people who don't want it. And then having enough appointments. When I was just getting going, I would have like 3 to 4 appointments in a day. So then, yeah, if that person no shows you or they're not interested, now it is really upsetting. Like, oh, dang, well, I only have a couple more appointments today. When I have a completely full day, 10, 12 appointments, if one person no shows me, it's like, okay, cool. Now I can dial for tomorrow. Where someone's not interested, okay, no problem. We're right on to that next appointment because there's enough appointments and enough people to talk to that, yeah, you're just sort of on to the next one.
Let's see. Josh asked, do you ever one call close?
I do, but never during prime time. Like if it's 9 o'clock and someone's like, hey, do you have time right now? I'm like, no. I do have time around 10:30. I don't have time right now. But I will one call close during the day. I still want to make sure, especially with mortgage protection, that the other spouse is there and they have time. If they're at work, I can hear it's loud and they're like, hey, can we just do it right now? No, because obviously they're distracted and they're not listening anyways. But I will one call close as long as it's not during prime times because I dial heavy during prime times.
I love that. Claudia asked, what about the ones who do need your help, but are stubborn as hell and refuse to do it? Chelsey, I'll let you answer first.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that I will go back and forth with them a little bit. I mean, some people are stubborn, so yeah, I'll go back and forth a little bit. At the end of the day, like if they don't want to buy or they don't want the coverage, I'm not going to really try and get it. I mean, I would say I try and book very solid appointments. So if somebody is like rebuttaling heavy on the phone, they're not acting like they're interested. I'm not really like, I'll explain it a little bit, go into it, but like if they're not interested, they're not. I'm not trying to even book that appointment only because I only have so many slots. And it's funny because when I first started, I listened to Mindy and I'd be like, Mindy, why didn't you didn't say anything when that person said she wasn't interested? She's like, yeah, I'm only booking solid appointments. I don't have time for those people who aren't interested. And I was like, that's solid. It's huge because when I first started, I was like, any lead is so important. Like I rebutted with them. But yeah, when people like super aren't interested and you just like force them into the appointment, a lot of times it was just wasting that slot. So I'll try and explain it to them like on the phone and go into it, but I really just trying to book super solid appointments for people who want the coverage.
Makes sense. And I agree. Andrew asked, how important is it to recap your day every day?
So that is big. I do this a lot with him and with Greg and even with Mindy too. So this job obviously can be super mentally challenging because you get a lot of no's, and that's if you're good or if you're not good, like you get a lot of no's. So even the people that are super successful, Hall of Fame, they're still getting no's multiple times throughout the day. So it can be mentally challenging. I think that's why it's so important to make sure the days that you're working. It's easy to go into the office and call a couple people, and then at the end of the day, you'd be upset that you don't have appointments. Well, how many people did you call? Were you intentionally working the whole time you're at the office? So it's really important that for me to be super intentional in all my time and to fill my day. And then seriously, Greg and Andrew know this. Every Thursday at the end of the day, we talk about all of the appointments, really. Every single person who said no, I talked to both of them about it. Like I recap the whole appointment, and every single time I ask them what they would say differently. Sometimes there's not much. Sometimes just one little thing I'll learn from them. So I recap all of my appointments with them at the end of the day.
You're getting plenty of support. I like that.
Yeah.
Mindy asked, what would you say to the person who's just spending a few $100s on leads, but is nervous to take the next step and spend more money?
Yes. So that's where I was nervous to spend the money because obviously it's a lot of money. At the end of the day, like you can spend a couple $100 and it's going to take so much longer to really dive into it. That's what I was doing. And I was still selling 1 to 2 policies a week, but it took forever for me to actually feel comfortable doing this because I never had enough leads. As soon as I spent the money, got the leads, like that's really when it changed and I was able to get over the hump quicker. So I think it's important to fill your day. The only way you can fill your day with appointments is if you have enough leads. If you're spending the money, you're following the roadmap, you're doing what you should, you're going to have success, but you have to have leads.
Well said. Kristen, she's referring to a local office. Tiffany, what is the right amount of leads? That's a really tough question. The right amount of leads is however many it takes to set the right number of appointments so that you can fill up your schedule. And that number of leads is going to change drastically depending on the type of lead and quality of lead. Let's see. On average, what do you spend on leads now? Cody asked.
So right now I spend about 1,700 on leads, but I want to get that higher. So I actually just got some more leads. So now my goal is to get to that 2,500. I know that's really where a lot of people are at. So 2,500 is really where I'm trying to get. So I just actually got some more fresh leads so that I could get there. I like to have a lot of leads so that if people are interested, I can still fill my schedule with just solid appointments.
Chelsey, I think it's funny to me. We talk about the different quality of leads all the time. I think it's interesting that the average agent that comes in new, fresh, they don't realize the gap between like a second chance lead or a aged lead versus a fresh lead. Like it's the the quality is, I mean, what did it feel to you as a newer salesperson when you got your first fresh exclusive leads versus what you had been working?
Oh, it's crazy. So, I mean, I love second chance. Second chance is great, but you're buying time. So you're calling a lot of leads to get that person on the phone or to get that appointment. Fresh leads, it's like I said, I mean, in 1 hour, I usually in that prime time, I can book 6 or 7 appointments. Like I'm just getting a hold of people and booking the appointments. So yeah, fresh leads. I love fresh leads for time for sure.
Big difference. Let's see. Somebody asked, and I'm not going to ask you this. I'll ask you if you're comfortable with it. Somebody asked if you wanted to role play the appointment set script. Ray asked.
Yeah, like my diet when I'm calling someone.
Yes. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
didn't want to put you on the spot because I didn't ask you before.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're cool, let's role play it.
Okay. Sounds good.
You're gonna role play. You want to do fresh mortgage or?
Yeah, fresh mortgage for sure.
Cool. I'm
All
ready
right.
when you.
Cool. So ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, Joe, this is Chelsey. Just giving you a quick call here about the file for your home on 123 Main Street. You just closed out with Rocket Mortgage. I just have to confirm some info with you here real quick and we'll get you off the phone. Joe, so right after closing, we had sent you a form on that mortgage protection. That's the coverage. It pays off that loan you get sick or you pass away. Do you remember seeing that?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. So I'm the manager here in the South Bend area. Just assigned to go over that coverage with you. Takes about 20 minutes and it's over the phone. So just looking to get you scheduled for that phone call. Now, Joe, is mornings or afternoons better for you?
Typically late afternoons.
Late afternoons. All right, let me look here. And then Joe, is it just you in the home or do you have a spouse or significant other as well?
I am married.
You're married. All right. And then afternoons is usually good for your wife as well, your spouse.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So looking tomorrow, Joe, I do have a 4 p.m. and I also have a 5:30 p.m. Which one would be best for you both?
I think the 5:30 would be perfect.
Okay, 5:30. And that gives you both enough time to get home and you'll be together.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. 5:30. And then Joe, if you don't mind, just grab a pen and paper. I'm going to have you just write down a few things for me.
Okay.
All right. So first write down my name. The first name is Chelsey. And then I spelled out Chelsey. And
Yeah.
the last name is Wolf, Wolfe.
Okay.
Then I'm going to have you write down the security code. It's important just to keep this. I'll repeat it back to you tomorrow. That security code is T as in Tom, 1037. And then the time we had said, I don't remember, 5:30?
30.
5:30, perfect. Just write down 5:30 tomorrow.
Got it.
Then Joe, if you'll do me a big favor here, if you will just be super intentional, just to keep your phone near you tomorrow at 5:30. They do have me talking to about 10 other families in your area. So if you'll just have your phone near you. And then also if you'll just let your spouse know that I'll be calling as well, so that they know that I'm calling. And then it'll just take about 20 minutes, just have a pen and paper. And then Joe, is this going to be the best number to call you on tomorrow?
Yep. This one.
Okay. And can you receive text messages?
I can.
Perfect. So Joe, I am going to send you a text tomorrow when I'm about 10 minutes out from calling. Again, if you'll just have your phone near you. And then other than that, you are all set. And I'll talk to you tomorrow at 5:30.
Killer.
Yeah. So that's
Greg.
what I do.
Greg, she's got ice in the veins, bro.
Bro, killer. The speed is what I noticed, her tone, and then she's not quick to get people off the phone. She's slowing down, she's tying them down. people are probably like, wow, it's super boring. Yeah, that's what gets people to show up.
The tone, Mindy said it, the tone was great. What's funny is I've heard Mindy do her so many times, and that was so close to Mindy's exact tone. You quite literally copy and pasted, which makes a ton of sense to me. It always blows my
That's what I was
mind.
trying to do.
Yeah, dude, it blows my mind when people are like, hey, can you help me with X, Y, or Z? And then I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, yeah, and then I'll put my own flair on it. I'm like, how about you do it X, Y, and Z perfectly, get the same results, and then make it better?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what, like, it was word perfect, tone was perfect. Great job. That was killer.
Thank you.
Absolutely killer. Michael asked, do you see a higher show rate with texting prior to appointment, even having your time less wasted? Sorry, do you work with the appointments?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, when at first I was nervous to text people because I was like, oh, that's just gonna like, then they're just gonna tell me like, oh no, sorry. Honestly, my show ratio, I'm very proud of that. I think that I really mimicked Mindy with her tie down. So that's something, if you know Mindy, like she stresses tie downs. So I started stressing tie downs. I usually talk really even a little slower in the tie downs. I have them write it down. I say it multiple times. Usually I ask them the spouse's name too. But yeah, so I really focus on my tie downs. And my show ratio usually is pretty good. Texting, every once in a while, I'll get someone to be like, hey, I need to reschedule. For the most part, when I text them, sometimes they answer, sometimes they say, okay, great, cool. I like to text people so that they know that I'm going to be calling.
I love it. Justin Short asked a couple times, what time zone are you in?
Eastern time.
EST. And he asked how many leads you work / order. So you were, we kind of already answered that ish, but you're working fresh leads. How many fresh leads for you to book? You said you're going for how many appointments in a week? 20?
So Thursday I try to do like 10 to 12. Sometimes Friday I do a full schedule as well. A lot of times Friday I do like 5 or 6 appointments. But my Thursday is booked full. So usually I would say, gosh, I get probably 45 leads a week or so, maybe less, but I just blocked out some more because I want to get some more leads as well.
So for anybody that's new listening, I almost hesitate to ask those questions to our guests because it's a much deeper answer than just how many leads does Chelsey get every week. If she was working second chance leads, that number would be dramatically different, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
But when you're working fresh, exclusive leads, you're able to get a significantly smaller number of leads and be much more productive and efficient. So I know we've made that point a few times. I just wanted to make it again for any new agents that just tuned in. Let's see. Somebody asked what's more important, script or products? Colby, faux show scripts are way more important.
Oh yeah.
Way more important than products.
The products you learn as you go. Like, to be honest, it's really funny. And just looking back where I started, I laugh about it. I had no idea, obviously, any products when I started. And yeah, you don't have to. So you do your appointment and then you call your upline. And I still sometimes call Mindy. I just called her, I mean, all the time. The other day I called Mike the other day as well. I still call people sometimes because you'll get that one just weird person and it's like, I sort of know, I know where to go, but it's like, I just want to talk to someone else. Like, how would you position this? Because it's a little funky. So yeah, I still call people sometimes, or I'll be on live dials and check in like, hey, what would you do in this situation? It's just a little funky. I'm not sure.
We could all get better. Let's
Yeah.
tell a story about being in your first home and Mindy didn't answer. So why don't you close out with this story? I don't know if it's Greg. Yeah, Greg asked you to ask it. Tell the story. So tell the story about being in your first home and Mindy, the upline. Mindy, you didn't answer. Like, you're sending this girl out.
She did.
Blind.
I don't exactly know what story he's referring to, but so Mindy had given me a list of people. She said, hey, call me and then call Matt and then call Mike. So yeah, my first home, maybe, I don't know if it was my first, but I ended up calling like Matt and he's like, "Hey, Chelsey." And I was like, oh, I had never even talked to him before. So I thought it was funny that he was just so like willing to help me. And I was like, I thought he was gonna be like, "Hey, who's this calling me?" But he was just like super willing to help. And I don't know, is that the story you're referring to?
Greg,
But
Greg, what story? What's the
Yeah, so yeah, she never really plugged in or watched any of the trainings, so she doesn't know Matt, Mike, anybody, right? And she's in first home
yeah,
and she calls, Matt helps. But that's where it comes down to, you don't have to know the products or anything like that. She just follow the steps, right? The steps are in front of you. Call that next person. So that's what
I
she
love
did.
because even Matt, I had literally never talked to him, but Mindy had given me like Matt, Mike, her, these are the people if you can't get a hold of me. So I had texted him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Chelsey." But then like I said, I hadn't worked in like a couple months. So yeah, I had called Matt and he's like, "Hey, are you in home? What's up? Who do you have?" And I was just like surprised because I was like, "Oh, he's gonna have no idea who I am. He's probably not going to answer either." But yeah, everybody here is so willing to help. Like you literally can, I mean, get on live dials, anyone's willing to help. So yeah, you don't have to know the products, which is really intimidating when you first start, but really just, I mean, you have an inventory sheet. You literally just ask them all the questions on there and then call.
I feel like I remember that story a little differently, Chelsea. I feel like the way I heard it was, man, I didn't freaking know this guy. Mindy's not answering the phone. I don't know who to freaking call right now. I guess I'm going to call this guy I found on a piece of paper and hope he knows me. That's how I kind of remember that story.
Yeah, I
Clay-
mean, pretty
Clays,
much.
your tone makes the story so much better. You told the exact same, but you
It's
added
way
the
better.
car
I'm telling
salesman
you, it's
into
right.
it. The
Some
car
of it.
salesman tone makes it so much better.
Yeah, the little bit of jargon. It was just so much better. Because I would have been like, if I told the story, I would have been like, "Freaking Mindy. It's my first day in the
Same.
Yeah.
You know I'm in a stinking house. Answer your phone."
I mean, she did always tell me though. So she always, another crazy thing. So Mindy always said, "Always call me twice if you're in home." I'm like, I'm not calling her twice. Like, I don't want to bother her. So I called her like one time and then called Matt like one time. And then she texted me, she's like, "Girl, if you're in home, you have to call me twice." And I was like, "Oh, okay. You really want me to call you twice?" And she's like, "Yes, like call me twice. I want to help." So yeah, it's different coming into this job and from a different job. You know, most jobs, not everyone wants to help you and not everyone's there for you. So when I started this and everyone's like, "Oh, call for help, get on live dials, people want to help." And you're sort of like, really? So I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like nervous to call Mindy twice. I didn't want to bother her. She's home with her kids. Now I look back and laugh at that because I'll still call her sometimes just for fun. So yeah, everyone's so helpful. You can call anyone. You're never alone, obviously, doing this. And live dials are amazing. When I first started, I wasn't even getting on live dials. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine doing this job not on live dials.
I tell everybody, FL 2-a-days. It's such a big deal for camaraderie. I have one question though. Mindy makes me triple dial her before she answers, but you only have to call her twice. Mindy, what do you like? Is this different? Like, are there priority levels here? What do I have to do to get on the double dial list? That's funny.
We're hiring Joe.
Uh-oh.
Christy.
What's my comp, Mindy?
Christy will be like, "I'm your freaking sister. Answer." I'm like, "Sorry, you're one of the agents right now, not my sister." No, I really do answer when I can.
I
If I
can't
don't
even
answer, it's 'cause
dial
I
her
have-
twice unless I'm in a home. Like I follow all the
Yeah.
same rules.
there's only 42 agents calling at once and 2 screaming kids. No big deal.
Hey, well, guys, it's been a great call. Chelsey, thank you so much. I love your story.
Yeah.
From barely part-time nurse to diving all in. The journey that's a great journey. And now to see what is going to stem from that one decision. it's incredible. I think a lot of people in your position would have been like, to when Greg was like, well, you do it first, like just not done it. No, I'm not going to get my license. So amazing. Good on you for making it happen. And
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I gotta say one thing, like I love this job now. When I first started, I like was literally just doing it to prove to him. And then it got to the point that I was like, okay, if I'm working in the hospital, I'm actually, oh, that's cute. I'm actually like losing money. So that's when I decided like, okay, yeah, you have to quit your job. And I absolutely love this job. I think I mean, it's fun. It is, if I'm gonna leave my babies at home, I need to do something that's going to be worth it. Like, I'm not going to leave them at home just to pay for daycare or just to pay for a little more than daycare. I love my kids. So if I'm doing something, like it needs to be worth it. And this is so worth it. It's been awesome.
it's going to be amazing to see the amount of lives, both agents and clients, that are affected and served because of that decision. The one decision. I love looking at like chain reactions and seeing how all that happens.
Yeah.
But that's freaking amazing. So keep up the great work. Greg, get you guys up to New Jersey.
Yes, definitely. I would love to come. So
Is Big Red coming too?
Is Big Red coming? What are we talking about?
we would be in
Big Red's
trouble
coming.
if he didn't come.
Bro, I'll be there.
All right, cool.
Of
All
course.
right,
Hey,
hey, last thing for everybody.
Big Red is dead.
Company cruise. Are you guys on track for this thing? Seriously? Who's on track for this company cruise? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got July, August, September, 3 months. You got to issue $100,000, help 100 families. And they are definitely making it more clear in their marketing. There's only so many that can qualify. So like you could technically get to 100 at the end of September and miss it if there were, I think it's the first 250 people to 100. So 200, Andrew, is it the first 200 people? First 200 people. I want as many people from our group on that cruise. It'd be awesome if it was like a 320 cruise. So let's just make it freaking happen. Please, let's go. If you're behind, like you got people right now, a couple of our guys in the last couple of weeks have been issuing 30, 40 a week. A couple people. So you could very easily do it. Let's get everybody there. If you need us, call us. I love what Chelsey said. Everybody's willing to help. I answer all the time if I don't know your number. Call whoever you want. We will get you helped and served. Let's have a great week. Chelsey, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to y'all soon.